And what kind of player am I? Am I an offensive man or a defensive man? That's right, I'm neither. I play my opponent. If he likes to attack, I force him to defend himself. If he's a cautious man, I draw him into dangerous waters. See, you get so frustrated playing defensive positions, you make stupid moves you never make if you were thinking. When you come here, boy, check that shit at the door,
I'm at the top of my game, cut the check. Somebody better king me, I'm the best. Let's play a game of checkers. Better yet, the game don't love nobody. Let's play chess.
I keep forgetting we're not in love anymore. I keep forgetting things will never be the same again. I keep forgetting how you made that so clear. I keep forgetting things will never be the same.
All right, welcome back for another episode of Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast. Today in studio, we'll be going over current events. I have Mike and Andy with me from Citizen DOGE again. Mike worked on the Trump campaign and transition team, or the Trump campaign here in New Hampshire, and the transition team. I got tongue-tied. And we have Andy, who worked on the Lily Tang Williams congressional candidacy. Now they have Citizens DOGE, and they're making a huge impact. So we're going to here in the Granite State, we're going to open up with the Citizens DOGE report. So Andy, go ahead and take it away.
All right, thank you, Julian. So last week after the show, we drove out to Hampton, Mike and I, and we visited One Accord Studios. That's in Hampton at Depot Square, just above Bogey's Restaurant. They produce music and audio created for positive and uplifting purposes and audiences. Bill Rosser, who heads the studio up, gave us a tour around in the space. They have a lot of state-of-the-art recording equipment and are giving like-minded groups the opportunity to lease their space, and we highly recommend people use them. Last Wednesday and Thursday, Citizens DOGE spoke with two town and county GOP chapters. Matt Marcotte, who is a friend of ours, went out to Hooksett and spoke with the GOP there last Wednesday. Mike and I at the Hollis GOP on Thursday. Both went well. I believe the Hollis GOP meeting Thursday was about as peak attendance as they've had in some time. I think, if I'm correct, Mike, it was between 25 and 30 people. It was quite
Maybe even
turnout.
more than that, yeah.
And the reception and feedback was very good. On DOGE-related matters, over the weekend, Mike received a tip from a source about a state program that is currently undergoing an audit over questions about records and receipts. That program is the New Hampshire Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence. They are a lobbying organization, but they also receive almost entirely taxpayer money and grant dollars to fund their operations, and they have, I believe, since the 1980s, if my research that I've read is correct on that. As a follow-on, I've looked a little bit at this organization's website. They are technically a private, non-governmental organization, and their website has many tabs, and it's rather elaborate, but it's also suspicious. There are references on many pages to the work we do for victims and outside resources for victims, as well as what we do to stop legislation in the State House and elsewhere that would hurt victims. However, if you look a little deeper, they also have no page on their website with faces and positions of the leadership staff and no direct links, only an outside 990 link to their financial disclosures forms.
That's suspicious.
To
say the least.
I suppose some might see it that way. Looking a little bit deeper, this organization also keeps account of victims it has served, supposedly, at the 12 community-based crisis centers that are scattered around the state. However, they also give no substantial accounting of exactly how their services and their staff have been instrumental in directing victims of terrible crimes to these 12 crisis centers. There's just a missing link there that I found odd.
So we do something, but we we can't tell you what we do, how we do it, who we're helping. Yeah, that sounds pretty suspicious.
And again, want to give the benefit of the doubt, at least for now. There is apparently going to be a review of this organization underway. But again, that's just the background of digging that I've done on a tip that Mike received just within the last few days. On upcoming events, as we've mentioned before, we have the Belknap County GOP Committee Cruise coming up on Friday of this week. There figures to be a good crowd aboard the Mount Washington. Last I checked, the weather is probably going to be nice. We hope it stays that way. But we will have a crowd of us who will be there mingling amongst some of the mostly Belknap County and state officials who will be there. Next Tuesday in Salem at the Artisan Hotel, there's going to be a casino night hosted by Joe Sweeney, if I'm not mistaken about that. Starting at 6 p.m. In the Tuscan Village, we will be present at the check-in table and volunteering, for those of you who may be watching who will be there. Friday of next week, our monthly meeting, our second monthly meeting for Citizen DOGE will be in Wilton at 6 p.m. There will be a representative from Turning Point coming, as well as Representative Vanessa Sheehan, almost a Sheehan, GOP rep from Milford. She'll be in attendance, and we'll, of course, give a full recap of our first month's activities, which will be, I'm guessing, extensive. And last event I want to plug is there's going to be a flag wave barbecue that we will be in attendance at on Saturday the 14th, which, of course, for many of you may know is also the president's birthday, making it a especially festive occasion now that he's back in the White House. That flag wave barbecue is going to be at 96 Milk Street in Methuen, just a few miles from where I went to high school, as it turns out. There will be a music celebration, food, drinks, and I don't know if we're going to have a table there, but I'm guessing we'll at least be handing out flyers and shaking hands as long as people will be mingling and eating.
Nice, nice. So things have been moving pretty fast for you guys.
They have.
Yeah.
So digging into, these organizations that don't have any tangibles or anything you could track or line item spending or anything, what do you think? What do you think is going on here? Because this is something we've seen across non-governmental organizations throughout the country, not just here in New Hampshire. And it always, when you dig deeper, you always find out that the money is actually not going towards any of the crap they say it is, but it's going towards more political pet projects. And I think the best example of this are the amount of organizations and supposedly, niche issues that popped up and campaigns that were started to do XYZ, but all use Act Blue, and then you find out all funnel directly into the larger Democrat Party. Mm-hmm. And it's like, so I thought I was helping human trafficking victims, and I'm actually helping to elect, Kathy Hochul, or you expect that you're helping out the fires in Hawaii, and it's actually going towards reelecting Nancy Pelosi or AOC or something like that. And I'm wondering if, because I'm absolutely sure, almost invariably so at this point, that if it's happening on a national level, it is most definitely happening on a local level. That at some point there was a pilot program where they're like, we could do this nationally. Let's do this, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think what it shows to me is that it's not just politicians on one particular side of the aisle. It's also the broader class of people who are technocrats and bureaucrats, and all the people who are on public payrolls have become very, very good at using certain coded language of sort of, lofty, aspirational, high-minded principles and all that stuff, democracy. They've used these words and the language around them to sort of cloak what it is they're really doing and how they're really living.
My wife actually fell for it yesterday. So we drove up to Boscawen for Memorial Day, because I'm really big with Memorial Day being a sombering holiday, especially for me, because I have brothers that didn't come home. And so we drive up there, and we went and we walked around the Veterans Memorial Cemetery, and I explained to my kids that this is the result of what happens when good men, strong men, step up to have to sacrifice everything to make up for when the world is being run by weak and evil men. And on the way back, we stopped and we got some barbecue. Shout out to Smoke Shack in Boscawen. The food was great. But we stop on the way as we're driving down 93. We see, a bunch of American flags on overpasses as you're driving through driving into Concord and beyond. And we're like, my wife's like, "Oh, yay, look, they're out there for Memorial Day." Then honk the horn and stuff. I'm like, "Honey, did you read the other signs other than the American flag?" And it's like, "Yeah, that one said defend democracy." I'm like, "Honey, we're not a democracy." She goes, "I know, but the average person doesn't, get boggled down in that stuff. It's just, it sounds good." I go, "Did you see the other sign next to it said 8647? She's like, "What the hell does that mean?" I go, 8647 as in Donald Trump. She goes, "Donald Trump?" I go, "The 47th president." She's like, "Oh my God, I was honking. I was just being nice." I go, "But that's how they get you. That's how they get you is they take these innocuous terms and they string them all together. And for the people who know, they know. But for the average person, they're going, 'Oh, look, a bunch of people with American flags. They're out here for Memorial Day.'" And I'm like, they use your best inclinations against you in order to get you on board. Like, this guy says he's out to defend democracy. He's out to, protect the country. And he wants to give everybody jobs and give everybody money and stuff. Why, what the, I don't know how that happened. Okay. I don't know how the hell. Yeah, that's right. Notifications, Facebook, I hate you. My bad, guys. But so I'm like we're watching all this transpire, and we're watching like how these people they attach to certain movements and they attach to your better angels, right? And they use these seemingly innocuous terms that have very high positivity ratings. And I can't say it enough. Democrats have been doing this for decades, where they'll take the positivity and negativity ratings of words and they'll string them together into a sentence that makes you feel really good. You're sitting, you're like, "Oh man, this is fantastic." And at the end of it, you're like, "All right, so Jan, what did he say?" I don't know, but I feel like it's time for a change. I feel like, he's the step forward, and I feel like defending democracy.
There's no substance behind anything, right?
Right?
Yeah, and I'll jump in real quick. So I got a tip from a state rep that we met at the event on Tuesday. So it kind of shows that people are paying attention, and that's part of what we want too. We want people to send us stuff, and then we can obviously talk about it in a public forum like this. Yeah, so anything people have, send to citizensdoge@gmail.com. And also check out our website, and all the events and everything going on is there. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy some of the stuff's going on. And, as you said, all those things you see with the Doge and all the stuff on the national level, like what's happening in the state level, right? Like all these NGOs, we have NGOs here in New Hampshire. We have NGOs all over the state and all over the country. In New Hampshire, it's easy to set up an LLC. I mean, I think it's like $100 or $200 you can set up a company. So you have all these little shell companies, all these little things. We need to start going through them, not just at the federal level, but the state level as well and local level. Especially
this has been a criticism I've had for a very long time now, is that while we're assuming as Republicans, because we don't have this, non-governmental infrastructure, to back us, and we didn't make a 100-year march through the institutions. So while we're sitting here going, "Oh, these aren't supposed to be political organizations. These aren't supposed to be, these institutions and these organizations are supposed to be innocuous organizations. They're focused on this one particular goal." I'm sitting here going, yeah, but do you notice that they're populated by the exact same people? That this person who works in this institution also works for this NGO, or that their husband or wife does? So now, like, they're working together without working together. I'm like, while you're looking at political cycles and you're looking at, all right, the election cycle has started up and now we can start getting going. I'm like, they've always been going They've always been pushing forward. They've been pushing forward in your local town, in your schools, the zoning boards, planning boards, your city councils, town councils, whatever. And then they have their NGOs working in the nonprofit sector going, yeah, just come on over. We need your donations. We're going to fix all the things and make you feel great. In reality, they have a symbiotic relationship with each other, and we're always behind the 8 ball because we spend the entire election cycle trying to catch up to 2 years straight of constant planning and constant moves in the same direction. And until we build up a civilian, party infrastructure, which you guys are doing, we're not going to be able to compete at all.
Because I think, as Thomas Sowell said, and you're absolutely right, I think to many people who are right of center, he's a big hero of mine. And he, more persuasively than anybody I know, has said, look, if you believe certain things about climate change or about justice or about changing the world according to the common understanding of that phrase, you carry a kind of passion inside of you about that you're a white knight for the right causes that people who have a more mundane or tragic outlook on the world just do not possess in the same way. And it is one of the things that we're constantly struggling against for the reasons you mentioned, because they have the infrastructure, not only because they dominate our meritocratic ladders to success, but also because they just believe that they're right and that they're better and that they're going to win in the end.
Yeah, and I can't remember, was it Frederick Bastiat that said the robber barons will be satiated by their greed from time to time, but the person who believes themselves to be self-righteous will never be satiated. They'll always push forward. Something akin to that. And that's where we are right now. That's where we are. We're like, if you're an activist and you truly believe in your cause, you are always moving in that direction. Like, you're always moving that direction. You're always fighting towards that cause. So, like, we find ourselves completely disarmed. Like, we're not even showing up to battle in a lot of cases.
Yeah, exactly. And like you just mentioned, that's what we're trying to do. But we had a conversation outside before we went live, and we're like, we got to work together. We got to bring these groups together because we're not at a point where we can just run an entire grassroots campaign. We have to find ways to work with people we disagree with, people we do agree with. This is the reason what we're doing exactly. Just bring people together, and that's the point of our meetings, our monthly meeting. Different groups. We have a gentleman from the Constitution Party coming to speak. We have a state rep, and then obviously Turning Point's a big group coming into New Hampshire. So, we're just, and then I've had, at our last meeting, we had several different groups and speakers. We had a Democrat come. And so these are the things we're trying to do, is just build a coalition here.
I've had a lot of conversations with people across, I'm going to say within the party.
Yep.
From the establishment or more neocon side of things. And I've had conversations with grassroots. And I can't even tell you how often the conversations are damn near identical. Where we identify the problem, we all understand what's going on, and we all want to fix it, but we get caught in that one thing that we disagree on. And a lot of the times, it's not about whether we disagree in principle or whether we disagree with what the Democrats are doing. It's disagreeing on how to move forward or on what path to take. And while you have that section of the grassroots that's like, right now, immediately stop everything, revolution,
burn
until
it down.
I get what I want, burn it all down. And I'm like, you can't do that. That's not how you engage in civic discourse. Not every moment can be the burn it all down moment. There has to be that hill you're willing to die on, and then there has to be that moment where you're like, all right, let me step back, let's reevaluate. Where can we take the first step forward? And the first step forward, nobody is going to be happy with it. I liken it to, we all want a beach body. Ladies, you want that nice bikini body. You want that nice butt and everything. But that means you got to get on the Stairmaster. And nobody likes being on the Stairmaster for an hour. And that first step is the most painful step until you get into a rhythm. And once you get into that rhythm, all of a sudden, you start to get a little bit more motivated as you start to see those stairs and those flights of stairs start to escalate. Or when you first start running, that first 100 feet, you're like, this sucks. And I'm like, as a Marine, we did a lot of running, like a 15-mile run, dude. That first like half mile, you're like, just kill me now, haul me off into the woods and put one in me. But then as you start getting going, you're like, all right, I got my breathing down, I got my pace down. Let's get this done. And I look at and I liken that to the movement here, where you have a lot of people who are afraid to take that first step because they're not happy with the fact that that first step is not convenient. It's not convenient. The first step requires the most compromise. It requires that you put everything on the back burner in order to take that first step. And then now you can start to add those things in. As you start to gain more ground and gain more footing, you can start to, get into those niche issues now that you have the platform. And I liken it to what Chris Egger did with the party last cycle. Now we have a larger majority in the Senate. We have a larger majority in the Executive Council. We have the governor's seat, and we have the House. We have a larger majority in the House. With that larger footing, so we spent 2 election cycles with damn near no majority, battling it out over niche issues. Finally, we were able to we were able to chalk up some wins. But with this stronger footing, now we're able to get into the other things we weren't able to accomplish before. But it took that, put all your shit on the back burner. First, you got to win. And now that we've won, now we're in a position to make change. Because you can't do jack shit without the ability to legislate and pass policy. So, I just absolutely love what you guys are doing. I'm geeking out, and I'm a total fanboy at this point. I'm glad I can work with you guys and have you guys on each week, week after week, as we can give the Doge report and we can get into stuff. So let's pivot to some national news. And this is where we get to have some fun and we get to clown on the left and how absolutely insane this is going to get. So first up, we have Trump in Harvard. Okay, so we've seen how this has been playing out in the past weeks. First it was we're going to take funds away because you're allowing anti-Semitism on campus and you're indoctrinating kids, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. Then Trump finally was like, you know what? Screw this. We're taking all funds away from Harvard. We're stripping away all federal funding whatsoever because at this point you have no interest in being dispassionate arbiters of truth or education. It's all about indoctrination. It's all about pushing a narrative. And now you're allowing protests. You're allowing people on campus who are actively advocating for violence. That's what the from the river to the sea thing is you're advocating for a mass genocide. And I understand the average American who doesn't keep up with foreign policy or doesn't keep up with the media narratives, but this is a talking point that we should eradicate Israel from the river on one side to the sea on the other. That's 7 million people. Like, that's insane to me that they can even defend this at this point.
Yeah, you can jump in.
Andy. So just for a quick note on the progressivism on university campuses. I won't speak for anybody else's experience, but I know in my experience, the last time I was on a campus in my mid-20s, it was the seeds of what would become the woke craziness of later. I wish I had seen it coming, because most of the talking points that have now become reasons for people to get screaming mad about exactly what you just described, those talking points were in place 15 years ago.
They were. Like, I was in college after I got out of the Marines, and I went to Palomar College in San Marcos, and we had, and it pretty much feeds GI Bill guys. We just got out. It's right outside of Camp Pendleton, and we had a smoke pit, and the rules of the smoke pit was everybody is welcome in the smoke pit. But if you're going to say something, be able to back it up. And there is no getting offended here, and there is no topics that are off limits. And if you're a sensitive weenie, we had a game that we would play where we would tell dirty jokes and disgusting and despicable jokes until you get so triggered that you run away. And the leftists would play into this game, and the conservatives would play in this game. Now, we'd be able to have conversations back and forth, but I started to notice that there was this shift as the gender ideology specifically started to play into things. Now, we had a couple Muslim people in the group. As a matter of fact, one of the girls, I won't say her name, but her dad actually organized the trips from California to Mecca every year to do the annual Hajj. And we had great conversation because obviously a lot of us were Iraq and Afghanistan vets, so we're having and she was Iraqi, but we're having a conversation about everything, and we're like, we can have rational discussions, and we actually agree on way more than we disagree. But then there started to be the shift when gender ideology came in, and then it started to be as soon as you start the political gangbanging of it, all of a sudden it was like there was zero ability to have a conversation. And I noticed the talking points we hear now started to pop up then. First, it was gender identity, and it was your sexuality, your gender, sex, and gender identity were three separate things. And I was in a marriage and family and intimacy psychology course. I had to take a soft psychology course, and it was the worst decision of my life. But not the worst decision, but it was up there. But by the end of the course, all of a sudden we were using gender to describe sexuality and gender identity and sexual, like your actual sex. And I'm sitting there going, we can't have a logical discussion about anything. We're in a classroom, and the professor is literally goading this inability to have a rational discussion because we're using a term that is conflated with all other terms as if they're all synonymous and feed into each other. And I'm like, this is bonkers. And now we're seeing it play out. It's just got, yeah.
And people pick this up because they want to advance through the system and fit in with their peers and be accepted by their professors. They want to absorb the vibes of all the ideas that they are seeing and experiencing and hearing, and use it to not only advance through the world, but in their minds change the world and be a white knight, like I said before.
I think this is where, I emphasize tolerance. I don't care how you live your life, who you marry, what you smoke, what you drink, how you dress, whatever. Whatever you do in your life, in your house, I don't care. I don't care up until it affects me. Yeah. Meaning, as soon as you're demanding I pay for it, or demanding that I subvert my opinions and my morality or my faith in order to justify it, or that I have to agree with it and advocate for it, because that's where I have the issue is acceptance is agreement and the willingness to be able to advocate for something. Tolerance is just me recognizing that you have the same unalienable rights that I do, both as a human being, as a citizen of the country. And I don't want to trample on your rights. I'm just telling you not to trample on mine. And we could just call it a spade right there. The people who agree with you, agree with you. The people who don't. But you don't get to talk to my kids about it. You don't get to slap me in the face with it. You don't get to force me to agree with it. And you don't get to shut me down, cancel me, and ruin my life because I disagree with you. The reality is, do your thing and let me do my thing. And we're good. I got transgender and gay friends. I got no problem with them. By all means, do your thing. But you're not going to talk to my kids about it. Because my kids don't need to know what you do in the bedroom. The same way they don't need to know what mommy and daddy do in the bedroom.
Yeah, and that's the problem with the left. It's not enough to do that, right? I think that's where they started. Hey, we're going to do this amongst ourselves. And then it's slowly crept in, like you said, slowly creeping in. Because when I was in high school, none of this really stuff happened. People were still going around calling kids gay or whatever. Just as jokes and faggot and all stuff that, you probably can't say now. But now all of a sudden it's those words are you put you in jail or something. You'd be stoned to death if you said stuff like that.
I wish we had that South Park clip where they're standing there in front of the town council and it's you mean you can be a fag and not be gay? And it's do you ride your Harley down the block revving your engine and forcing everyone to hear your loud engine? It's yeah, well then you're a fag. And it's but I'm not gay. I have a Harley. Am I a fag? Are you the douchebag that is constantly doing this? Then no, you're not a fag. I'm gay. Am I a fag? No. Do you have a Harley? Do you do this? No, then you're not a fag. And I'm That used to be an exclusive term to mean that you are a douchebag. That you are the douche that forces everybody to have to bend to your obnoxious nature. And now it's like, you can't say that anymore. And it was the same with retard. Like, we weren't saying retard to trash people who actually have mental health issues or mental inability or disabilities or whatever. It was like, you are willfully and obnoxiously stupid.
Yeah.
And you deserve to be called out on your willful, obnoxious stupidity.
I'm laughing because I've had so many conversations with a good friend of mine about this exact topic. I think the one thing we're all about the same age is we came up through school. We passed through the same ages, same phases of life about the same time. And
not Gen X. Later, we're the top of the millennial generation.
The Xennials or whatever, what label you want to use, the early wave of us. But coming through the system in the 90s and the 2000s, there was still that more than a scent or a whiff. There was a whole popular culture of being deliberately politically incorrect and pushing the envelope as far as possible that we all experienced when we were adolescents and teenagers and into our 20s, that we kind of take as something that was a formative influence on us. But people who are maybe 5, 8, 10 years younger than we are, they either didn't experience it at all or it was so much less of an influence on them. They got snared by this woke stuff when it caught on.
Think about all the movies, man. Like Scary Movie, what, 5 of them now? Blazing Saddles. Like all those Airplane. All those don't worry, I talk jive, brother. I'm like, dude, we had all of these cultural things where it's like we could make fun of each other. As a matter of fact, that was like the pinnacle of comedy. Is like, no, everybody gets made fun of equally. We had South Park, we had The Simpsons, we had Family Guy, we had all that stuff where it's like the point of this show is to make fun of everyone. And if you're the one who gets offended, you're a loser.
We should make the left watch that. We should sit them down, tie them to the chair, and make them watch all those old school movies and shows.
God. They'd don't
probably
get it.
Be fine. They'd probably be like, "Oh, okay."
They don't get it though, because like they'll watch it, and it's the same as like we joke about the Hunger Games and stuff like that. And I know we got away from like the clips and the news segments, but we're going to steer back for a moment. But
rabbit hole.
We got stuck on this like this constant spin cycle of delving into being offended by everything. Yeah. But you have Hollywood that comes out with all these movies, and we can all sit down and watch them, and we enjoy them. And then we'll be like, oh, you can't say that. That's politically incorrect. I'm like, dude, I was just watching you with we were just watching Family Guy at my house and drinking beers and chilling, and you weren't offended by shit. But now we're out in public, and you're going to pretend like you're woke. I'm like, just stop. Just stop. And you got the Hunger Games. And I look at the same dynamic. So Hunger Games, what's another dystopian movie that's based on Marxism? It's like you have all of these movies that highlight tyranny, and they highlight like how people are manipulated and stuff like that. And we all see who the bad guy is in the movie. Clearly the people who want power and the ability to tell everybody else how to live their lives. But then we turn off the movie, and it's like there's a switch that turns off, and we go, that's not what I'm seeing. That's not what I'm saying. It's okay if it's my group. And that, like, you get to the end of the Hunger Games movie, and that's what you really find is it's like, no. We wanted to be free from their tyranny. I'm okay with being a tyrannical dictator. It's like, as long as it's my side that's doing it. And that's the downside. I'm like, damn, the average person doesn't have principles past their convenience. Yeah, we're screwed.
We're in a fourth turning. I will not give a speech on that. That's what the podcast I produce is about. I recommend that people check out the term and the book if they have not looked into it. But the fourth turning, I highly recommend it. Dude,
that is exactly where we are right now. All right, so we're going to spin back to news clips. So we got Trump and Putin. All right, so Trump is over there trying to negotiate a ceasefire in the end of the Ukraine war. Comes out of the meeting, gets off the phone, and he's pissed because as he's on the phone with Putin, Putin is sending rockets over at Ukraine. And Putin is also simultaneously pissed because while he supposedly says he's trying to engage in trade with the United States in good faith. We have tariffs and stuff, and we're not trying to engage in good faith. Last I checked, the goal that Trump had was, 1, I want you to stop the war. I want to get to a peace deal. 2, I want to get to a point where we can engage with in free trade with each other, so that it's a mutually beneficial situation. And it seems like only our side of the aisle is able to reconcile this. And you got the economic purists who say tariffs are bad, 100%, always, under every circumstance. They didn't have the same shit to say when Joe Biden not only kept Trump's tariffs from the first term, but added tariffs on top of those tariffs. And I'm going, so you just didn't have shit to say when it was him. You didn't have a problem when it was your guy. Now all of a sudden you understand tariffs' effect on the economy. And I'm not arguing their long-term effect on the economy if they're used for revenue. But targeted tariffs can be used to keep manufacturing domestically, keep people buying your own products, to bolster your products abroad, or in a free trade aspect. If you can use tariffs to weaponize to get your trade partners to drop theirs so we can engage in free trade, that's real free trade. It's not a one-way street like so many of the purists in D.C. We under no circumstances should be doing anything that is not purist free trade. And I'm sitting there going, you're not. It's not purist free trade if you're the only one exercising it. That's like I don't know, a fantastical view of the world.
Yeah, and I think Trump just wants a level playing field, because he even said he's not just going to tariff everyone with no recourse. It's like he's willing to negotiate with countries that want to negotiate with us, right? So he's willing to let go of tariff, like you said, have a free trade with countries. But if they're going to attack us or supply our enemies weaponry or drug trafficking, and all these different things, it's like, yeah, we're going to tariff these people. Like, they need to learn a lesson. They need to be hit economically. Maybe that'll get them off the couch and to do something.
I just don't get it, because it's you're in a position where you either allow it to continue and you allow the abuse to continue, which I'm looking at it like, you allow the abuse to continue and you get into this cycle where it's going to get worse because you continue to show that your country is weak and willing to be abused.
Yeah.
Or you wield economic might to avoid having to wield military might, which is what Trump is trying to do, is peace through strength. We're going to wield our economic might to avoid having to get to a point where we have to drone strike your ass, drop a Moab on you, or we have to, throw in, unleash the dogs of war and send in the Marines or send in the Rangers to come kick your ass. Because that's the other option here is, if we don't get to a point where we can stop wars, we can wield our economic might to stop wars, prevent wars, and things like that. The next step is, rather than the carrot, now I got to use the stick.
Yep. Yeah, as a little bit of a nerd on these kinds of things, it's been amazing in the last few years to read so much material about how, like, the Antony Blinkens and Jake Sullivans of the world, remember him?
Yeah.
Are so committed to this idea, as really their whole class of people is, that expertise and diplomacy and the right credentials and fitting in with the right people is the ultimate recipe for resolving world tensions and world conflicts and moving things in a direction where, the hot spots in the world today go away. But their track record shows that they have no basis for believing that their approach actually works. I don't want to praise Trump too much, but the fact that he diverts 180 degrees away from that Blinken, Sullivan class of people is something that I'm on board with, because I just see their record of failure as proof that we need something else.
Yeah.
You almost need to go opposite of what they were doing. Like,
Exactly.
whatever they did, we need to be 180 degrees opposite.
Right.
It hasn't worked out. So I'm like, if your foreign policy methodology is flawed from the get-go, if we're constantly getting into forever wars, we're constantly sending foreign aid to more people than there are, or more organizations than there are countries in the world, you're not successful. Your concept of buying off people in order to not be assholes, or being nice to them so that you can get invited to the next cocktail party where you shake hands with them and take pictures with them, it doesn't stop them from screwing us behind our backs or screwing us in our face and saying, oh, yeah, we had coffee and stuff like that. We're still leveraging tariffs on the United States. Yeah, we're still going to continue to ship, drugs into the United States.
And up until now, no one was going to do anything about it.
Exactly.
And so that's what Trump is coming into. The crack whip here. Let's go.
And that's what we need.
Yeah.
That's exactly what the country needs. So next clip, we have J.D. Vance at Annapolis. So Donald Trump and J.D. Vance both spoke at Annapolis, and I broke them up, but J.D. Vance really got into this one. He tells the Naval Academy, graduates, I'm not just here giving another speech. And I love the way he did it, because what he really got into in the speech was the gravity of this speech is different. I'm the vice president, and you guys are about to become military officers. The gravity of this conversation, this commencement speech, can't be understated. You are the future of America. You're the future of our military. And I'm like, we've got into this this downward spiral where the military's gotten woke and it's gotten weak, and we're no longer prioritizing war fighting. As a matter of fact, I view it no different than Bill Clinton's we're going to prioritize, poster boys over war fighters. And we were doing that to the 10th degree under Joe Biden, where now we're prioritizing social media clicks for the military by promoting drag queens and stuff. I'm like, when we were active duty, this wasn't shit we were concerned with. None of us are thinking about that. And I'm not willing to get rid of morale in the average military unit so that so-and-so can go put on a drag queen dress to be a social media influencer. Come on, that's not what we are here for. We're here to drop bodies. Like, we're here to make sure when you see the average military unit, you shouldn't see guys over here, yes, queen, we're coming for you. No, you should see dudes that are like, let the bodies hit the floor.
It's still a little bit of fear, right? It's
Yeah. Like, I want the type of military units that when Russia and China, they look at the U.S. and they're like, I think it's a good time to attack the U.S. They look at the disgruntled military, soldiers and Marines and sailors and Air Force over here, and they're going, those dudes are crazy. They might be a little mentally imbalanced. I'm not messing with them. Not messing with them, because they volunteer to come kick our ass. And that's where we need to be as a country. Anything else is just a toy. So we got Hollywood secretly. So this is something, and I saw it when I did executive protection. Zachary Levi, who, if I remember correctly, he's the actor who did Shazam, said Hollywood, he spills that Hollywood's secret, many of them voted for Trump. Now, this hasn't been a secret to me. I've always known that a lot of these people behind closed doors, they sound pretty conservative. They have to put on the show because Hollywood is woke as hell, and they want to keep, the money train, and they don't want to get blackballed in Hollywood. But the reality is, they're all very conservative when they're, talking to their accountant. They all don't like taxes when they're talking to their accountant. Yeah, sure, they'll all do the charity thing, enough to offset their taxes, their tax liability.
Especially in California, it's like, what, a 13% income tax or something like that?
It's insane. When
Could
you look
be
at
even
property
more than that.
taxes,
Yeah, property taxes. Yeah.
when you look at property taxes and income tax, I think they're only second to Massachusetts. That's crazy.
That's probably right.
All right, so next up, we have Jasmine Crockett, the Dems' future. Now, I sent the producer, let's go ahead and play the video, because this is absolutely hilarious. Jasmine Crockett, who's become a firebrand for the Democrats, saying absolutely insane things on a regular basis, is now, according to David Hogg, who was just recently ousted as vice chair of the Democrat Party, was just saying on the Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God that Jasmine Crockett is basically what the Democrats are looking for as the firebrand and needs to take them into the future. Somebody who doesn't care about the people on the other side of the aisle and is somebody who's criticized our own rhetoric. I'm looking at her and I'm going, this is funny because I criticize our own people for playing this game of, oh, you're based if you overtly insult all Democrats and everybody who doesn't vote for you. I'm like, you do realize that political arguments and political debate aren't about owning the libs. It's about making a better pitch to the people. And when you force everyone who happened to vote Democrat to have to identify with Jasmine Crockett or AOC, you're pushing them further in that direction and away from where you can grasp them. But let's go ahead and show that video because this is just great.
I think Jasmine is frankly the type of leader that we're really looking to support in some senses, right? Somebody who is out there that frankly doesn't give a damn what the other side, at least the elected Republicans in Congress say what they believe in. And at least even if you don't agree with her, you know what she stands for. Yeah. Because she makes it very clear. And people are really craving that right now.
Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot man.
Oh.
What does she stand for again? Like, what's her platform besides just attacking Trump and Republicans?
Nothing. Like she exists for fundraising purposes at this point. Her thing, and this is what bugs me, is you watch earlier interviews of her. She's intelligent. She's articulate. She's got this tone about her that is sweet and demure. And then she gets elected to office, and all of a sudden she's yes queen, black girl magic, blah 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 blah, and she's got this ghetto tone to her where she's like constantly got to be lowering her syntax and her grammar and her rhythmic tone. And my point was, this is what Democrats think of you.
Yeah.
Like, as a black person, this is what they think of us, is that in order to connect with us, they have to talk like that.
Talk down to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like,
it's terrible.
You do realize we have doctors, lawyers, judges, we have engineers, we have people in STEM, we have professional politicians who have a career of being able to speak articulately and intelligently, and you find a lot of these black Dems, and whether politicians or intermediaries, outside without a camera in front of their faces. They talk like this. And I'm like laughing because I'm like, I'm me regardless of where I am. Why do you have to put on a show? And then on top of it, you show your ass wherever you go. So now the image that the average person who doesn't talk to black people on a regular basis has is your ignorant ass. And I'm like, this is funny because the Democrats lost their shit over Trump. They said he was ableist because he made fun of somebody, called them who he didn't know was autistic. Said he made this gesture. They're like, now she's literally ableist and making fun of a guy for being in a wheelchair. I'm like, what?
Can't make it up.
Yeah.
And according to David Hogg, these are the people they want right there. We want somebody who's going to make fun of a guy in a wheelchair. And I'm like, I didn't vote for Trump because he is the guy who will make fun of the left. I voted for Trump because he is the guy who will enact the policies that the establishment of our party refuses to enact. The stuff that we've been asking for decades. And we get told every election cycle, it's okay, you're going to vote for us and we'll take care of it.
And he's a bulwark against the truly crazy lot coming from the other side, like David Hogg. I mean, God only knows where he's eventually going to end up, but I feel pretty confident in saying that he is going to fail up from his recent demotion.
Unfortunately, that's politics in general. People just fail up.
Get a promotion. The worse you get, you just keep moving up.
Yeah. The more insane you are, the more you lose. As long as you can spend the talking points and you can play the game, you'll fail up. You'll get a promotion. You'll end up on somebody's cabinet or whatever. It just is what it is. Nobody has to work for anything anymore. As long as you play the game, you're good. All right, so we got Trump at West Point. I already discussed that, so we can skip that. But he had a very inspiring speech. J.D. Vance and Trump, huge on military appreciation. And I as a military guy, I just can't get over it. So we got media covered for Biden. This has been the big thing, is all the left-wing media is trying to come out and be like, we were the ones to criticize him. After defending him, after spinning us a yarn, after leading us astray, after lying blatantly to our face as he trips and falls, stumbles over his words, can't remember where he is, can't remember who he is or what he's done throughout his 50 fucking years in politics. And then you have this moronic asshole, John Lovett, not related to Caroline Levitt. I want to be clear, and I quote, I want to be clear that I thought it was important to make sure we did everything we could to reelect him. We were just talking last week about the auto pin on Shadowban and how it's impossible to know who is actually signing everything over. We know who was signing everything, who came across his desk. Everybody but him.
Yeah.
They were just putting it in front of him and throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. It's like, we'll just blame it on the old guy. We'll blame it on the old guy. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know what he's signing. Hey, what is this? We're getting corn pop, Joe. Don't worry. But this is what we got to deal with, is they lie to our faces and then pretend they didn't lie to our faces and then go on a podcast and brag about lying to our faces.
Right.
Yeah, it's sick. And, this begs the question. It's like, what happened the last 4 years? Like, what? Who, obviously, there's multiple people probably just signing whatever, right? The auto pen. And he said multiple people have said there's different advisors he had and 6 or 7 different people. They were just pushing ahead of their piggy projects that they're working on. So it's like, who was actually running the country? It's kind of scary to think about.
Apparently, everybody but Joe Biden.
Everybody but the guy that's supposed to be running.
Which that's why they wanted to get him in there so bad. Is one, their lineup is dismal right now.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris was a disaster, and they knew that going in. They were like, damn, we know Joe Biden needs to step aside. We know it's getting bad. We know we can't keep covering for him, but
just like wheel him in, right?
Like, she is worse. She's so
Somehow
much worse.
Worse, yeah.
And we can't even explain her away with dementia. Like, now, we have to just own that shit. Like, we can at least be like, his age is a problem, and yeah, he's got some senior citizen gifts every now and then Kamala Harris is over here, and you're like, well, what's your excuse for her? I got nothing.
I just thought of this, that, of course, we know the resistance to Trump started the moment he was elected president in 2016. But
before he was elected. But
exactly right.
They were drafting articles of impeachment before he even won.
Exactly right. But in August of 2017, I think, was the crucial tipping point, because when Charlottesville happened, very regrettable, very terrible thing. But when they took not just the words that Trump used and completely misrepresented them, and on purpose, but also used the dark images of that day to just cast a light on, boy, you want to know where this country is going if we have another administration of him or anyone like him. It's like the darkest possible echoes of a past that we all agree is terrible.
Oh, yeah.
And what that essentially did, in my view, for the Democratic Party, is it gave them the sense that, well, we're just morally superior.
Yes.
And we're fighting this battle to... The talking point was to save the soul of America. And all we have to do with not even our policies, but with just our words, back to words again, is just make clear again and again and again that this chaos is being caused by the man in the White House. And if we just have a message out there that this is going to return to normal if the right people are in charge again, if we come back to some semblance of normal, then everything will be fine. The problem is they've been running on rhetoric, even when they've been out of power that whole time since then. Their only argument fundamentally is that they're morally superior.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about this to me is the party advocating for castrating children is claiming to be morally superior. The party for stripping away women's rights, stripping away Title IX, putting men in bathrooms with girls, the party who uses black people as the face of all of their degeneracy and death, poverty, and destruction, and then weaponizes that so that when black people take the backlash, you get to call conservatives racist, and then now I have to defend blackness instead of trashing you for using black faces to justify your nonsense because you put a black Marxist up there. Like, That's the morally superior party. The party is literally arguing for segregation on college campuses. The party that's screaming from the river to the sea. The party that's literally advocating for doing everything for every other country in the world except Americans. Sit back, shut the hell up, America. We got to send more money to Ukraine. Hey, sit back, shut the hell up. We got to send more money to Israel. Sit back, shut the hell up. You know, somebody somewhere else in the world is having a problem. You know, screw you, Americans. We have to welcome in everybody else, every other country's problems into America, and we don't care about your failing schools. We don't care that the average person in a Democrat district can't read, write, or do math at grade level, that the average teenager has mental health issues, that damn near 80% of the country is ineligible for military service because they're fat, lazy, drug addicted, and mentally unstable. Like, holy shit, that's your moral superiority. But hey, you know, Trump won't let me, you know, abort my fourth baby. Like, what the fuck? That's the world we're living in right now. And I'm like, and it didn't pass this time because it didn't work because the average person's going, you're just insane. You're insane. No, I don't want you. I don't want butt naked dudes twerking in front of my elementary school child, in front of my ninth grade, or my fifth grader. Like, no, we're not doing this right now. My pocketbook is hurting. I don't want to get into World War III. We're a laughing stock of the damn world. I don't want illegal immigrants being imported into the country to sleep in my gyms or in my communities. I don't like, you're literally ignoring crime. Like, you took over a hotel. You took over a hotel.
Yeah, it's gotten so bad, and to your point, it's like, where's the point of no return? Like, how far are these leftists going to go until the people wake up, right? Like, I would think, and as you said, I mean, they're messing with your kids. I think that is, like, what's worse than that? I mean, mess with me, but don't mess with my kids, right? And I think that was one of their, many mistakes, right, as the left. But you mess with my pocketbook, and you mess with my kids, you're gonna ruin the whole subsection of voters, right? And that's what we saw. Trump won every battleground state, record turnout, and I'm surprised that Democrats had as many people that did vote for them. But it's great. I think they just went way too far, and they're just past the point of no return. And now they're doubling down, tripling down on some of these things, and because they can't backtrack, because then it just looks weak. They're attempting to, but
we owe the election to, honestly, I'm going to say it. We owe the election to two things. One, Trump went all the places that Republicans never go. He had a growth mindset, and he skipped over the intermediaries on the right and went and talked directly to people instead of allowing the influencers to talk for him. So the only people who were talking to actual voters for Trump were people who had an interest in winning the election, not people who had a profit motive outside of the election by just saying random griftery shit. The other thing was Scott Presler. For the first time, let's go ahead and skip over the other things for a moment. Let's throw up that graphic, because for the first time, we beat the left when it came to voter registrations in battleground states. Proactive growth mindset wins. That's what you guys are doing right here in New Hampshire, is that growth mindset is what's going to save the day. This idea that we need to skim the margins and just, cede the fact that we're a purple state, guys. No. This is like a business. You're either growing or you're dying.
Yeah.
There is no in between. And the Republican Party should get this. You are a corporation. You're not a government entity. You're a corporation. You file taxes. Come on, man. Let's fix this. Have a growth mindset, or we're gonna die like overripe fruit on the vine.
Yeah, we need leaders to step up as well within the party. And there are people making changes, and as we go around talking to groups, they are getting fired up. But that's what we're calling all these groups. Whether it's the leadership of the GOP or the little town groups or the counties, step up, fight, show up. Like I said, we had record attendance at our group we spoke to in Hollis. We had a great meeting at Hooksett. This is starting to catch fire. So the people are getting this message, and I think that's what me and Andy are trying to convey, is like speaking this message of people need to get involved now. Like, I woke up after the election, and Andy knows this exactly. I didn't say, I'm going to take 6 months off, I'm going to go on vacation. I said, what is next? Trump's in, great. What's the next play? Not, oh, Trump's in, my day's over, I'm going to go back to sleep, and Trump's going to fix everything.
We have to proactively
No,
protect
what's
the
next?
republic.
And this was 4 months ago. I said, what's next? And we're wasted 4 months, and now people are saying, oh, maybe I should do something.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe you should.
A republic if you can keep it, right?
Yeah.
So here's something. Finally getting some accountability, right? Biden officials hid heart risks of COVID-19 vaccines from the public, Senate report finds. These hearings, these MAHA hearings in D.C., I'm absolutely loving it.
I love it
because
too.
when you dig into that stuff, you find out it goes way deeper. There's a lot more, and I'm not saying it's a giant conspiracy. This is more like interests converging, except with this, because this was government pushed, government endorsed, and enforced. And this was my big issue, because you can't say you support the heroes, you support the firefighters and the first responders and the nurses and the doctors, right? Unless they don't get your jab. We support your rights and we support your health and all that stuff. Unless you want to say bye to your loved one, unless you want to say you want to see your family members, unless you want to sleep in your own bed tonight. Like, we had people, they were kicking people off of flights who aren't allowed to have restricted airways because they have breathing issues, like actual comorbidities, breathing issues, because they wouldn't wear a mask. I'm like, they can't wear a mask because they have breathing
Dude,
problems.
I was in the
and you're
gym.
kicking them off of a flight because they won't wear a mask. Like, come on.
Literally in the gym, people are running on treadmills with a mask on. And I ended up buying, and they literally required a mask in the gym. I'm like, you guys kidding me? So I bought this, I don't know, Under Armour or whatever, this breathable thing just to slap on my face. And, I kept pulling it down. I'm on a treadmill. Mm-hmm. And they would come over literally and say, pull your mask up, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, how are people not dying in here, like passing out? You just see some old lady like that's been smoking for 30 years, huffing and puffing with a mask on. It's like, dude, this is unbelievable.
Athletes that do,
yeah.
when athletes do breathing restricted training, like when they actually wear those breathing masks to restrict their breathing so they can get used to running without oxygen, they could get used to performing with low oxygen levels, they pass out. Yeah. Like a lot of them pass out. It's not a normal thing to run with your breathing restricted. But that's what we're dealing with. I'm glad that we're finally getting some accountability on this. Next up, we have Republicans and Democrats unite to condemn the murders of Israeli embassy staffers. Finally. This is something I'm all about unity and, working together where we can. It's nice that we can finally get something that we agree on. Something that, this should be pretty normal. Assassinating somebody isn't objectively a bad thing. Unfortunately, the influencers on both sides of the aisle on X, showing their asses, one-upping each other on, oh, this is a false flag and stuff like this happened. I'm like, come on. If the average person really saw how their influencers engage and behave online, they would absolutely lose it. They'd be so sickened by what goes on in their name. So we have some brass tacks. Republicans win on the economy. Trust on the economy from RMG from May 20th to 21st. Republicans at 45% plus 8 over Democrats at 37% on the economy. This goes back to what we've discussed in multiple episodes so far. Stick to core issues that are your winning issues. Those are the issues you run campaigns on. When it comes to the economy, Republicans win. And you know what? That's where we need to stick. As soon as we start delving into the social issues, we lose. As soon as you make those a national issue, those are not issues you run campaigns on. This is an issue you run a campaign on, because that affects 100% of the U.S. population. Yep. The drag queen story hours, you're talking less than 1% of the population going after a small percentage of the population. It affects the people who it affects. And while it's disgusting, while it's morally reprehensible, this is the shit that hits average everyday people in their pocketbook. Is the cost of living, the cost of gas, cost of groceries, energy costs. shit, New Hampshire, we need to really fix our energy costs. It is insane up here.
Through the roof. Yeah.
Like electric bills. I can't
I'm
stand
surprised
it.
those numbers aren't, higher than that. I mean, who did the poll? Probably some left wing.
Let's see. So we got another one. So trust on each of the following issues. Immigration,
there we go.
plus 16. Crime, plus 16. Economy, plus 8. Gun laws, plus 7. Inflation, plus 6. These are winning issues for us. And this is
Absolutely.
where we need to stay. Okay?
Especially those top two. Yeah, keep on those. Keep harping on those. Immigration and crime. Yeah.
There was another one that got posted, and I didn't give one the flip side of it, because it does list the things that Democrats went on as well. And I'll just scroll down to it real quick, because it
Maybe
was
social issues, maybe?
Yes, it was primarily social issues. Yeah. Last I checked, I think it was healthcare.
Healthcare, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was healthcare. I don't think it was immigration. No, it wasn't immigration. It's healthcare.
Yeah.
It was abortion.
Jeez.
It was education. So we're losing on education and healthcare. Price transparency and what Trump is trying to do with prescriptions.
Mm-hmm.
We spoke about that before. That's going to be huge, because it's stealing a main plank out of the Democrats' armor right there. That's one of their biggest things, has been prescription costs and pharmaceutical costs and stuff like that.
But if Trump does anything to benefit them, then, like you said, it's like, what are they going to do? Right? Especially with the stuff with the big bill and cutting taxes. So if he cuts taxes on tips or overtime or say whatever. So if you're a Democrat over here making, minimum wage, and then you're just living off tips, and then Trump is going to put 20% more in your pocket, now you're in a conundrum here.
Yeah.
So you're going to keep attacking this guy? I would say all the Democrats, okay, we'll raise your taxes up, and then the Republicans, we don't have to pay any taxes over here.
And there's also the challenge that Republicans have of certain people who go into certain fields do tend to be more the sort of personalities who go for the Democrat talking points on the issue or on the series of issues that involve the job or the domain or whatever it is. And there's never going to be a point where reproductive rights is not always connoted as a left-wing issue. I mean, the pro-life movement and the conservative side of the aisle trying to take charge with that language is a step, but that they just don't use it well enough to make an impact.
I think the biggest thing is our lack of empathy on the issue, because we're taking a moral position. And my problem, and I've said this to many of the people on the left. Well, I'm sorry, on the right. Are we coming to the end? Oh no, we're coming to the end. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Remember to tune in to Right Side Media, Right America Media, and tune into Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast next week. Next up, we have Granite State Live. It's going to be a fantastic show tonight. Tune in, and we'll have you guys back.
We got to announce our winner real quick.
Oh, your winner. Sorry.
So who do we have in the chat? Anybody in the chat here?
I don't see anybody in the chat right now.
All right.
Do we have anybody in the chat? All right.
All right, so we'll go with the one that submitted the application for this. We're going to go with Dennis Marcotte as our winner for the cruise. So he will get a ticket and join the Citizen DOGE team on the cruise ship in Belknap County. So, Dennis, we'll see you out there.
Be at the Weirs at 5:30 p.m. Friday the 30th.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast. Please tune in next week. Watch Granite State Live coming up next, and be sure to like and subscribe and share to Right America Media on all platforms. God bless. Have a good day. United We Stand, a Marines Fight. Written by Julian Aceyard. I wrote this book to decipher through the tumultuous political dialogue and political gangbanging we see on both sides of the aisle between politicians, activists, influencers, and pundits, and get down to brass tacks solutions in order to save our republic. Again, United We Stand, a Marines Fight, written by Julian Aceyard. You can purchase the book on Amazon, Kindle, and Barnes & Noble.
And what kind of player am I? Am I an offensive man or a defensive man? That's right, I'm neither. I play my opponent. If he likes to attack, I force him to defend himself. If he's a cautious man, I draw him into dangerous water. See, you get so frustrated playing defensive positions, you make stupid moves you never make if you were thinking. When you come here, boy, check that shit at the door, at the door.
I'm at the top of my game, cut the check. Somebody better king me, I'm the best. Let's play a game of checkers. Better yet, the game don't love nobody. Let's play chess.